Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, back yet again. Another talking head video. I'll knock out 3 of them tonight, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and try to do 3 more, because this is what we do when we get behind. We got to get caught back up. So, as always, reach out to me, alchemistcabinet.com, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, YouTube comments down below, and please leave a rating or a like or whatever they do on YouTube. I don't keep close enough track of all that stuff to know. Share the videos, do the thing, put the information out there. That's what this whole thing is all about, is putting the information out there for both home distillers and professional distillers, but specifically for you home distillers that are really into what you're doing, because you guys are the next crop of legal distillers that are going to do cool things in this industry, and preferably, at least in my case, not bourbon. Let's do other stuff. There's other cool stuff out there. And if you want to make money, make sure you listen to the One Piece at a Time Sacred and Profane, the Question of Bourbon podcast, because that money is drying up in bourbon. Most people haven't seen the cracks in the bourbon bubble yet, but I'm starting to see them with single barrel setting for prolonged periods of time in liquor stores, and that's going to be a real issue for bourbon producers on the small scale in the near future. So, from Bill. So, hey, Alan, Jesse steered me towards your channel some months ago. Much appreciated. Jesse over at Still It. You're a great guy, man, and man, Jesse just does cool stuff, guys, and he's great at video production. So I don't need to tell any of you to go watch his videos. You already know, but this is Jesse, George, Bearded and Bored. They paved the path for many of us on YouTube, and their production value is way better than mine, but I get the information out there regardless. So eyebrows are doing a thing again. Anyways, been digging through your videos ever since. I appreciate your style of getting right to it without a lot of fluff. Just got your first book from Amazon. Much appreciated, by the way. Book number 3 coming shortly. The question: I love making high ester rum. No, that's not your thing, but in one of your videos you mentioned high wines. I had seen that phrase mentioned in a paper from the 40s by a Yero R. I can't ever say that name, but the rum guy, Boston Apothecary. You'll see a lot of his publications on there, talking about using it in the second retort of a dual retort rum still. I have not seen a solid definition for high wines. I am fearful that it just means heads. Could you provide some clarity? Thanks for generous support you offer us hermits out in our backyard sheds. That's awesome. So I'm certainly a hermit as well, or even a heathen. So, heathen being out in the heath, out in the what we would think of in America as the sticks, the woods. So as far as terminology, things get very confusing, especially when you start crossing disciplines with distillers. If you bring in a bunch of distillers into a room, say like at Mount Vernon where I was just at, and they are from different disciplines, they may use similar words or completely different words for the same thing, or they may use the same word for 2 different things. Now, in the case of rum, high wines, I think, could potentially mean heads, because with esters, right, you're building acetaldehyde, ethyl acetate, you're esterifying those. It could mean heads. I'm not enough of a rum guy to be able to tell you. Boston Apothecary is your place. You got to check it out. So much great information. And if you don't understand something on there, reach out to the guy. He will let you know, because he knows, guaranteed. But you will see these different definitions. For example, if you're reading through old Kentucky literature or Illinois literature or sometimes Northern Indiana literature, you'll see the words high wines. And what they are referring to is finished hearts of a distillate, but going typically to a rectifier to have something done to them, to improve them or to redistill them or to add something to them. In fact, most of the vendors in the late 1800s, and we'll call them vendors because that's what they were dealing in commodities. Bourbon was a commodity at that time. They are making high wines to send off instead of barrel aging them, because there's no great incentive necessarily at that time to barrel age them yourself if some other big firm can deal with them and they'll buy them immediately from you. So they would call what they considered their finished product the double distillation, or through a low rec column and a doubler or whatever, as the finished high wines. That is high proof wines versus low wines, which is distilled one time, etc. So this is an interesting thing in distillation, where these words, this nomenclature, they all have specific meanings, but there's no universal language here, right? Not in any way, shape, or form. Part of that is because oftentimes the words for processes and distillation are adapted from other trades. A good example of that would be tails. So in Scotland, the word tails originated with, and I'm sure Ireland is the same. You'll forgive me for not knowing the trade as well as what I maybe should, but people who would work fibers, they would consider the end of their fiber cleaning, their fiber running, the lower quality stuff, their tailings. And so that's where the word tails come from. But yes, this is a very confusing thing that you will see in old literature. The other thing that I did not understand until recently, and Mark Meltonville, again, if you don't know who he is, look him up. Probably the world's foremost expert on culinary fires and furnaces, but also royal cooking. And I mean true royal cooking, antique royal cooking. Look him up on YouTube. Also ancient beer making. He explained to me, I was talking about one of the old distilling guides, and it's a really great guide that I've talked about many times before, but how it'll get you real close to a recipe, but you can tell it's not exact. And he goes, well, that's because they couldn't tell you. And it took me a minute. I was like, what do you mean they couldn't tell you? And this was one of those great, just illuminating moments. He goes, they couldn't tell you because they were members of a trade union, right? So, for example, the Royal Union of Worshipful Distillers, they were not allowed to tell the outsiders who were not initiates to that trade organization, that even fraternity, much like the Freemasons. They weren't allowed to tell the outsiders those things. They could get you close. They were allowed to tell you enough things to make money off of, but they were not allowed to tell you the secrets of the trade. And that had never occurred to me before. And I suspect that some of this nomenclature confusion across various different, not only types of distillation, rum to whiskey, whiskey to brandy, brandy to everything else, right? But also in between distilleries is done on purpose so that an outsider reading this could really not make heads or tails of it, right? You just couldn't. So that would be my best piece of advice. Boston Apothecary. Stephen, I believe. Yeah, go talk to him. Also, if you've heard him talk on Distillers Talk about the birectifier, he is now making those himself. The dude learned how to blow glass to make this cool piece of still lab equipment, and he has them for sale. So hit him up. Get more involved in your distillation methodology. So I'm sorry I couldn't be of more help on this question. I wish I could, but as not being a rum guy, when I say that, I've read a lot of the rum stuff. And so when you're looking at double retort, you are looking at them adding some odd things to those retorts. First retort and second retort, whether it be a little bit of wash or whether it be have some maybe muck or dunder in there. I've even seen examples where they were taking stuff directly from the leavings of the pot still before it ever hits a muck or dunder pit, putting some of that in there for esterification. I've seen examples where they're adding heads in, right? You're building acetaldehyde and ethyl acetate. And a lot of times those high ester rums were traditionally not really used for drinking, but they were often exported for baking purposes. They may not be something, for me, for example, rum's a hard drink for me in a lot of ways anyways, but something like Hampton Fire, dude, you could open that in my kitchen right now and I would smell it in this bedroom, and my reaction, and not to be rude because I don't think it's bad, I think it probably hits exactly the marks that it's supposed to, my reaction from in here would be, get that shit out of the house. The same as if the wife opens up nail polish remover in this house. I'm so sensitive to acetaldehyde. To the extent that it makes my teeth hurt. Just like when you bite into something cold, if you have sensitive teeth, that reaction you get from your teeth is the same reaction I get when I smell strong acetaldehyde. I can't do it. So, unfortunately, never went down that path as heavy as I should. Also, it should be pointed out that commercially, although we've done a rum at my current distillery, no one traveling through the state of Indiana would ever care about an Indiana rum. So, financially, there's not really incentive there necessarily, but anyways, reach out to me, guys. I hope you appreciate these videos. I sure appreciate your all support. Keep shining. Oh, fuck, I said that. Now I'm a stereotype. Keep running stills, or keep the stills running you, right? It fuels both ways, I think. And reach out to me with your questions. Love y'all. Later.